Thanks, John. Good morning. Good morning. Let's get fired up. We got 10 minutes together. Let's make the most of it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Fagan Harris. I am the CEO and president of Baltimore Core and a huge fan of Volunteering Untapped and a huge fan of Seth Franz. It was actually 3 years tomorrow that Seth formalized our partnership, and we've been building ever since. We did it over pizza and a beer, appropriately so. And I can tell you from that first conversation that Seth had a vision for not just untapping volunteerism, but positioning the extraordinary talent base here in Baltimore City for their next step. To Jamie McDonald's point, to building a life and career dedicated to improving the lives of others. And I've seen that determination in Seth, and I've seen that determination in so many of you. I've been to so many of these events through the years. So please, let's give Seth, Volunteering Untapped, the whole volunteer base, a big round of applause. Congratulations. It's also awesome to see so many other champions of volunteerism. So Kelly Hodge-Williams, very much the godmother and founding mother of volunteerism here in Maryland. Barbara Shapiro, who's just been a fantastic champion of all of this work. Let's give them also a big round of applause. So I want to share a little bit about what we do at Baltimore Core, and then I want to share one story, and then I'm going to shut up and exit the stage, because I think people who know me well know that I can talk. At Baltimore Core, we connect extremely talented people, and we define talent very expansively and very broadly. We think genius and talent is everywhere, opportunity is not. To opportunities to make the most profound difference in the lives of our city residents and in the future of our city. So this runs from entrepreneurs in West Baltimore to the highest levels of public service in our city government, to best-in-class nonprofits like Thread, who you'll hear from later, Sarah Heminger, to emerging models of social change. We've got an extraordinary opportunity as a city to be on the front line of social change in this country. It's no secret that our city has an enormous array of challenges. And too often in the media and the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we hear about ourselves, we focus on the stigma, the deficits implied by those challenges. I would argue that because we've been so close to these problems for so long, to paraphrase another great friend, Glenn Martin out of New York City, criminal justice advocate, we're closest to the solution. And I know that that's the premise of what you all do here at Volunteering Untapped. I know it's what motivates our community at Baltimore Core. It's what I see in communities across this city, is that we're really close to turning the corner on a lot of serious and profound problems, whether that's criminal justice, whether that's workforce, whether that's poverty. We're really close. And when you ask people that are pioneering those solutions, those models that make a big difference, and if you don't believe the premise, by the way, stick around for Thread later today, hear their results, and then come back and tell me whether or not you still don't believe. When you ask those people what the big rate limiter is to progress, the big rate limiter is to change, invariably it comes back to people. We're a big city, but historically we've been a shrinking city. Baltimore's home to about 600,000 people. 40 years ago, it was almost 1 million. Think about the implications of that. That doesn't just mean a diminished tax base. That doesn't just mean fewer resources. That literally means just fewer people in the fight, on the front line, pushing forward things that work, pushing forward things that make a big difference. And so when you all make a choice, and I know that you've made at this point thousands of choices to get up and make a difference, you're sending a message that those solutions matter, you're getting involved in work that matters the most, and you're really helping to advance some of these goals that we all share. To be blunt, it's not enough. And that's why I love the spirit and the theme of this conference, why I love that there's so many fantastic organizations, many that we've worked with, of what is the next step? How do we do more and better? Because this is really just the tip of the spear. You guys have an enormous opportunity to take what you've built, which in short order has been a deeply impressive movement, and get more involved and more deeply involved in the work that's going to matter the most, in the hopes that we just might get there. It's so important. And I know that that's hard. Choices are hard, because choices involve trade-offs. Choices involve inconvenience. Choices involve us to weigh our values and decide, do I want this Saturday morning for myself? Or do I want to get up and pull weeds? Right? Do I want to do this thing that's right by this organization or by this community, or do I want to worry about this, or do I want to make more money? These are real questions. These are sincere questions. So a story I want to share is when I had to wrestle with a big choice. A choice ended up changing my life. So about 5 years ago, I got a call from the national leader of the NAACP, a man named Ben Jealous, another Baltimore native, fantastic leader for social change. And he called me and he said, I'm looking for a cisgendered black man who has worked on issues of marriage equality. And I literally have a list of 5 who've worked at a state level in the country, and you're on it. So he had known that back when I was in college, which at this point was the prehistoric era, I had worked on the fight against Proposition 8 in California, and we lost that fight. And he kind of had doubled back and said, we've got a big fight here in Maryland to legalize marriage equality, and we need allies really in the fight. So we need you to come lead the black vote for marriage equality. Challenge was I was in graduate school. I had, to be blunt, a lot of privilege. I had a lot of reasons not to go do that. And I hemmed and hawed, and I said, well, it's not really a convenient time in my life. I've got other goals, like I'm trying to set up my career. Love to help, but I just can't do it. And he called me again, and he said, when history calls, you got to answer the phone. And you got to step up. This is bigger than you. It's not just about you. Your choices matter. Well, when you get shamed by Ben Jealous, guess what? You step up, you do the right thing. So I left grad school. My mother was thrilled. And I get back to Maryland, and we start organizing. And I start spending a lot of time in Baltimore City. I start spending a lot of time in Prince George's County. And we're working our butts off. And it was during that time, by the way, that I started meeting a lot of the people that inspired me to this day, who I work with to this day, people like Rodney Foxworth, who are building incredible things. And I really started to see that Baltimore had just some seriously great work going on. So anyway, we're working, and one of my assignments was to organize the first rally for marriage equality at a historically black college. So first time in American history to organize a rally for gay marriage at a historically black college. Great. Dive in, we pick a college, we picked Morgan State. We go there, we get all these student groups to sign up as partners. We go to the president's office, we get them to sign off as a sponsor. We speak at all these classes, we get professors bought in. We're organizing, we're doing the work, right? We got our clipboard, we got our pen, we're doing the thing. Contact the press, get it all lined up. We go to the rally, the day of the rally, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. We go to the rally, we're on this football field, and all the press is there. All the local press, all the national press, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, all the politicians are there. Delegates and senators and congresspeople, the lieutenant governor. My boss is there, Ben Jealous, head of the NAACP's there. Everybody's there. Rally starts at 4 p.m. Guess who didn't come? The people. No people came. Like zero. Like actually, like no one came. So I proceed to melt down as 4 o'clock nears, and we get to 4 o'clock, and we're on this football field, and it is literally empty. Like literally not a single soul. And I'm just like, well, my career is over. That's the end of this. Should have stayed in grad school. Terrible decision. And so I'm freaking out. And I think people who know me would say, like, Fagan's a pretty cool customer. Like, takes a lot to get me rattled. I was rattled on this day. I was totally like, should not have done this, got totally in over my head. Maybe you guys can relate. Maybe at some point you volunteered or participate in something where you feel totally in over your head. Turns out this is normal. This is part of it. And so Ben calls me and he says, come here. I walk over and he goes, first of all, calm down. It's like, okay. He's like, no, seriously though, you need to calm down. Your heart rate's clearly elevated still. Like, you need to slow it down. And I was like, okay. Started taking deep breaths. And he goes, here's what we're gonna do. You need to run over to campus and you need to find 10 people. How much money do you have in your pocket? About $18. He's like, great, use that to bribe them. I do not care how you get them here. Bribe, beg, borrow, like, do what you gotta do. Get 10 people here. Got it? That's all you gotta do right now. So I get up, I race across campus, and I met this young woman with the backpack. The bell had just rung. She's in between classes. And I literally get down on one knee, and I said, please, God, I need you to come to the football field with me. I'll explain when we get there. I'll take you out to a movie and dinner. Is that weird? And she goes, yes, it is weird, but you seem very earnest and very sincere, so okay. And we did this exercise 9 times, and we got 10 people. And so we bring them back to campus, or back to the football field. We get 10 people. And Ben tells everyone, he goes, all right, everyone, huddle up. He goes, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna form a little tight-knit crowd around me, and I'm gonna give this speech about marriage equality, about justice, about my interracial parents, how they met in the 60s, and how the principles at stake in marriage equality are the same principles at stake in interracial marriage, and how this is about civil rights, it's about who we are as a country, who we're gonna be. And you guys are gonna cheer, and you're gonna laugh, and you're gonna scream, and you in the back, you're gonna hold this sign, and you're gonna jump up and down, and at the end, I want you to sing the Morgan State fight song, and you're gonna rally. And everyone's like, okay. And then he walks over to the press, and he goes, okay, all you guys want this thing to pass, right? And everyone's like, yeah, sure. So you're gonna frame a really tight shot. You're gonna bring the camera in, you're gonna frame a really tight shot. It's gonna look like there's 1,000 people out here. You got it? And then we started cheering, and the guy with the sign was jumping up and down. I'll never forget him, he had the funniest socks. Just started jumping up and down. And we're doing it, and we break into the fight song, and Ben was fantastic. He's such an amazing speaker. And he's got so into the microphone, and he's telling this story about our history and our people, and about equity and about justice, and about how this was a profound moment for civil rights leaders to link arms with other leaders and to take this very meaningful step. And then at the end of it, we break into the Morgan State fight song, and right on cue, Ben drops the mic, and then he waves and walks out of the shot, just like this, as if he's waving to 1,000 people. And it was beautiful, it was perfect. And the press instantly started hitting, right? We started checking our Twitter feed and Facebook and online, and all the press headlines say, historic moment, first rally for gay marriage at a historically black college. All of them had embedded videos, and it looked like Ben was in this crowd of 1,000 people, and the guy with the sign, and dropping the mic and walking off and waving. And not a single article mentioned that there was only 10 people there, or that we had to beg them and bribe them and promise dates and other sketchy things to get them to come. And so that night, I actually typed up my resignation letter, because I thought, surely I'm fired. So let me just get ahead of this thing. And I sent it over to Ben, and I was like, hey man, I'm so sorry, I let you down. I failed you. I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed. We had months to plan this. I worked my butt off of it, and I failed, no excuses, and this is too important. You need to get a better lead organizer on this. And I'll never forget what he said to me, and this is kind of the point, is he said, you know, change only happens when you get dirty, and change only happens when it's hard. Change happens when you reach up to that line that's just beyond your comfort zone, it's just beyond your kind of span of control, your realm of competence, if you will. Change happens when you're beyond that and you start taking those next steps. You all are at that point. You have walked through your realm of confidence, you have done this in your comfort zone. And now you're at that point where you've got to decide what is the next step. And that's going to mean different things to different people in this room. For some of it, it's going to mean career changes. For some of it's going to be more intense volunteerism. For some of it's moving to certain neighborhoods, investing in certain causes. We've got a city that's on the edge, for better or for worse. It can go in any number of directions. And the choices we make, especially when it's really hard, especially when it stretches us to sacrifice and to do things that we thought we couldn't do, to interrogate our own privilege and decide how we fit into a larger movement, to have humility in the face of those facts, that's actually how we get and achieve progress. And so I commend all of you for being here, I commend all of you for all that you've done. I challenge you, though, to do more, to do better. The city deserves it. We're really close. We're really, really close. This can be a great story in this country's history, a story of a city that comes back from the brink and does some really special stuff. But it's because people like you actually take the step to do the hard thing. Thank you so much for having me. Good to be with you all.